Shocking, really. It's insane. Yeah. It's really wild. So, like,
the Wisconsin Supreme Court will not see an ideological shift this year when a new justice joins the bench.
The win by Democratic-aligned Susan Crawford maintains the court's 4-3 liberal majority. Nearly $100 million was spent on campaigning, making this the most expensive judicial election in U.S. history. Trump advisor Elon Musk handed out million-dollar checks to some voters who supported the conservative candidate.
Wisconsinites fended off an unprecedented attack on our democracy. Our courts are not for sale.
Susan Crawford scoring a decisive victory over Brad Schimmel in yesterday's Wisconsin Supreme Court race. You heard her reference the courts not being for sale. That's because there are people who believe that one of the factors responsible for Crawford's victory was the involvement of billionaire Elon Musk.
shocking, really.
So let me take some time here to talk about Elon Musk and what just happened in Wisconsin. Basically, he just handed over a state Supreme Court seat to the Democrats by being unlikable and obviously corrupt. That's really it. He spent over $20 million on this election just to have an absolute blowout landslide outcome for the Democrats. And polling is showing that voters on both sides thought he was trying to buy this election.
Fresh off an election in Wisconsin where voters said no to Elon Musk and to Doge, NBC News has learned that President Trump has told members of his cabinet that Musk will leave in the coming months. The two reportedly discussed his transition back to the private sector during a March 24th cabinet meeting. Trump said this week that Musk would be going back to his company, quote, at some point. But last night's rejection in Wisconsin could possibly affect that timeline after Susan Crawford, the liberal candidate in the state's Supreme Court race, won a decisive 10-point victory over the Musk-backed conservative.
If this shows us anything, it's that once these people step out into the light and actually have to face the voters and the will of the people, they don't get very far. Elon took to Twitter after the brutal loss to Cope, saying, "Sometimes it's worth losing a piece for a positional gain." But it seems like this loss is way too much for Trump to handle. Despite his effectiveness at cutting the federal government in half through Doge, Elon Musk is too much of a political liability to keep around. A 10-point loss in a swing state in an off year is crazy. And this election represents a lot more than just a new liberal justice on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which is in no way a small victory. It's a 10-year long term, and it's a boon for Democrats in the Trump administration. This election had a crazy turnout. 2.3 million voters in a year without any primary elections, without a general election. That is unprecedented. This is the biggest off-year election, biggest Supreme Court election, period, that Wisconsin has ever seen. CBS News broke down those numbers earlier this week, and we're going to take a look at that now.
Talk about this election. It is a rough comparison to 2024, but a more precise comparison is the most recent Supreme Court race in Wisconsin previous to this, 2023. In that race, I looked up, 1.8 million voters turned out. This time, 2.3 million voters turned out. So there was a tremendous more interest in this race.
And that is so important, Major. I'm going to write it here on the board, right? That 2.3 million, yes, higher than the last Supreme Court race, but also that represents about 2/3 of the votes cast in a presidential race. That is a midterm level turnout. So we're in the spring of an off year. You know, I always say don't overread a special election, but the more people turn out, the closer you can make a comparison to other things. And I think that's what has a lot of folks on the Democratic side, as you said at the top, a little bit more upbeat after that.
Midterm level turnout. I mean, that is crazy. Just a few months into Trump's presidency. Again, these numbers are record-breaking on a national scale. It really shows that Trump and his destructive policies do animate people to get out there and oppose it. Whether it's protesting, which is becoming increasingly dangerous even for permanent residents of the United States, or going out to vote in an election most people would never have even thought about if they didn't hate Trump, and specifically Elon, so much. Elon Musk has been a PR albatross around the neck of the Trump administration, and they are ready to let go. But CBS aren't the only ones talking about it. Take a look at what Fox News is even saying about Elon.
Elon Musk said Thursday night that he'll speak in Wisconsin this Sunday. His post on X said the event would be open only to Wisconsin Supreme Court voters. There he said he'd give away $1 million each to 2 voters. He said it was, quote, in appreciation for your taking the time to vote.
And then the bigger issue is giving something of value to try to encourage people to get out there and vote. And clearly, that was his intention with this.
Election attorney Michael Maestelman points to Wisconsin law. It says you can't give something of value over $1 to encourage or discourage someone from voting.
Can you unring the bell? I mean, he was encouraging people to vote, right? Because if you didn't vote, you couldn't show up at his rally. So it was an exclusive event for only people that voted.
Then Friday, Musk deleted the post and replaced it with this one. Musk says the Sunday night event is open to those who signed the petition against, quote, activist judges. He says he'll hand out checks for $1 million to 2 people to be spokespeople for the petition. He already gave another $1 million to Scott Ainsworth of Green Bay, who signed the petition.
Get out and vote early for Brad Schimmel.
The Elon Musk founded America PAC is offering Wisconsin registered voters $100 for signing the petition. It doesn't mention candidates. It doesn't mention voting, but the offer only runs through 11:59 election night, April 1st. So no one from Musk's Political Action Committee returned our request for an interview. 2 Musk-linked groups have spent more than $17 million on the Supreme Court race, while Democratic billionaires George Soros and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker have donated to the Democratic Party to help Crawford, $2 million from Soros and $1.5 million from Pritzker.
Okay, we're talking about campaigns versus individuals, so
Right.
that's the difference. But what have you heard from Republican lawyers about this whole
I
situation?
tried to get some Republicans to talk on camera today. None were willing to go on camera or even return. Some of them didn't even return my calls or messages. So that's what we're looking at. But for comparison, you may remember back in 2020, Wisconsin Republicans wrote a cease and desist letter to the city of Milwaukee because they were going to have early voting at Fiserv Forum as well as AmFam Field. And they said, hey, if you have any players there or have the mascot there, that's offering people something of value. Essentially meet the players or to meet the mascot would be something of value, and therefore you're breaking the law. That was 2020.
And here's something some serious value for at least 2 people.
That's right.
$2 million. All right, thanks.
Shocking, really.
Now, granted, this is a local Fox outlet, and they're not as bad as the main channels, but they really do not mince words or edit around that damning assessment given by the election attorney they interviewed. Plus, the fact they couldn't get a single Republican to even return their calls to give a comment on this. The party seems to be in absolute lockdown on Elon. Personally, I think all of this harsh press is a way of giving Trump an easier time firing him. We all know Elon would have stuck around for as long as possible, and he's indicating that he's only getting started with trying to dump money into Republican races. The funniest part is that Elon's name is so toxic now that any whiff of a Musk-funded candidate now has to worry about being met with a landslide defeat. It seems it really does take more than money to win elections these days. Elon deleting the post afterwards as if that was going to help his case is just the kind of little constant public embarrassment that Republicans were putting up with by hanging on to him and his money. I wouldn't put it past Trump and the Republicans to learn the wrong lesson from their mistakes, but historically it seems like underestimating them is also not the right move. So what do you guys think? Is Elon actually done at the White House for good? And if he is done, does that mean that Doge is done along with him? Let me know down in the comments below and tell me anything else you feel like I should know down there. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, because I'm going to have more news commentary coming soon. Thanks so much. And guys, I just wanted to record this short little outro to say that this is my first ever video, and I would really appreciate any tips and tricks on recording better audio or video or editing. So whatever you guys have, just leave it down in the comments. And thanks so much for watching my first video. Have a good one, guys.
And that is the case with Blue Dog.